This little four panel is by an artist named George Alexopoulos. You can and should be following him on Twitter. His material is absolutely brilliant. What this depicts is a reflection on the last Olympics, where Megan Rapinoe, the purple-haired pitch depicted here, took a knee to protest the playing of the national anthem, went on to lose to a team that the U.S. women's team should have easily defeated, and her takeaway was, I deserve more money. Now, obviously, it's done in good humor, but she actually went on to demand more money. Not only did she demand more money, but she got it. And as of this week, Joe Biden hung on this woman's neck the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Now, a lot of people may look at that and see another inordinate triumph for the woke movement. I mean, it could certainly be taken that way, but I think a more proper takeaway is another example of just how out of touch and completely imbalanced the far left have become. And even the fence sitters, mainstream liberals in the media, mainstream liberals in the middle of the road, have had quite enough. I mean, we're treated to Orwellian doublespeak on a high level. The SJW crowd, the far left, the woke movement, always opposing corporate greed when it comes to the oil companies, but can't seem to give away money fast enough when it comes to the vaccine companies. Again, the difference between being a principled anti-authoritarian and a situational ethics anti-authoritarian. Now, people can hardly be blamed for seeing it this way. After all, the Ministry of Propaganda, this rogues gallery from over at CNN, and the other rogues gallery over at MSNBC, and of course most of the mainstream media, including big tech and the social media giants, continue to push this narrative as if the left can do no wrong. But much like the childhood parable of the emperor wearing no clothes, all it took was one 7-year-old child to step from the crowd, point at the emperor, and go, hey, that motherfucker is naked. Now, a lot of people say that this man acted like a 7-year-old child. Well, in the sense of the parable, he was the one to step out of the crowd and tell everyone what they already knew. The emperor is quite naked. Now, the rogues gallery from CNN continued their Orwellian doublethink this week when this man, the one who they have constantly railed on as a sedentary, out of shape, morbidly obese fat ass, suddenly in their storyline became this man. That's right, a little morphing, and it comes to this. Yes, apparently in the back of the presidential limo, according to testimony in front of the J6 committee this week, the sedentary, unathletic, morbidly obese fat ass suddenly became John Wick, leapt over one Secret Service agent, grabbed the wheel of the presidential limo while, with his free hand, choking another Secret Service agent. We were handed this by the January 6th committee without cross-examination, of course. And within hours, the Secret Service agents in question said that they wanted to testify under oath that none of this happened. Now, of course, there's a process for that because they are federal employees. Now, that process could easily be bypassed with a simple subpoena from Liz Cheney. But we already know that none will be forthcoming, and we already know why. The lies just keep getting bigger, and the lies about division keep getting bigger. And the lies are, in fact, driving the division by design and by intent to the point where they become a self-fulfilling prophecy. I, on the other hand, feel like the power structure is going to be abjectly disappointed in the final result. It's become sort of an annual tradition here on the Sunday sermon that we do an Independence Day edition, the Bart of the Union, as it were, although some would say it would be more accurate to say the Bart of the Confederacy, but for the sake of, we'll call it the Bart of the Union address. And the way the Rev sees it is this: no matter how much they want to push the narrative, and they will, cities in flames, cities under riot, left-wing lunatics taking over entire sections of major United States metropolitan areas. They keep driving this narrative because fear is a powerful motivator. But fear, being a powerful motivator, cuts both ways. They are driven to push this narrative by their own fear. And their own fear looks a lot like this. Not just the so-called oppressor and the so-called oppressed shaking hands. Not just the breaking down along racial lines, but in accordance with the meme, the one takeaway from this is that they not only bridge the gap, but look at the size of those fucking guns. You are not dealing with weak people anymore. A lot of the mainstream media and big tech and the naysayers, the ones who are literally hashtagging on Twitter today, fuck the fourth, as if that is going to sell to a mainstream American audience, they had better take note. Because at the end of the day, we have the numbers, we have the firepower, we have the strength. And every mainstream, middle-of-the-road, milquetoast, Pollyanna grazer, every suburban housewife, every cubicle dweller, when they shake off that fence, they fall onto our side. Because what they ultimately realize is that this country has been through insurrections. It has been through a civil war. It has survived one of the largest economic depressions in the history of mankind, 2 world wars, and civil strife and division far worse than this that have threatened to tear it apart before. And we are still standing. It's easy to over-intellectualize and pick nits about all of the things that is wrong with America. But it's wrong what Reagan once said. There is nothing wrong with America that can't be fixed by what is right with America. At the end of the day, as free countries go, we may be sick, but we are the healthiest patient on the cancer ward. And every single day, our strength and our will to survive that cancer grows. And believe me, boys and girls, you want to know what the Rev says? The Rev says, we're going to win this thing, y'all. Happy Independence Day. The opinions expressed by the Reverend are his own and no one else's on the planet. Not friends, not foes, not supporters, not detractors, not sponsors, and I cannot stress this enough, certainly not employers. They have been adjudicated thought crime in all jurisdictions. Consider yourself warned. They are coming from the heart. They are guided by the mind, and they are guaranteed to choke you with a big, fat dose of that freedom, love, and truth cock. Welcome back, boys and girls, from the command center level of the original Bart bunker in Spokane, Washington, where it all began. It is time once again for the Sunday sermon. Welcome aboard. Having to deal with some off-the-rack equipment. Had to dash the last minute, put some things together, but I'm glad y'all showed up. Where's the fire? Everybody in for the drum roll. Yes. Back where it all began, man. The command center of the Bart bunker, where I started this thing 2+ years ago as basic therapy. The start of the COVID so-called pandemic, and we are back. I am here for the 4th, paying a little visit, checking out, doing some things around the house, getting Big Blue ready to either go back to market or get armored up. I haven't decided on that one yet, but if anybody's interested in an 88 diesel Suburban, hit me up. Tons of good stuff going on, man. And we got, oh my goodness, look at the roll call here, man. All the usual suspects on board. We got Roman on early, and we are running an hour early. I didn't expect this much of a turnout, man. Fucking A, right. All right. Brother James Pearson on board. Good to see you, brother. We have Roman and, of course, lovely Miss Carrie from opiumtales.com. Good to see you guys. Chris Reyes. Yes, it has been a minute, brother. How have you been, man? Wow. Good to see you on board. Brother Sonny. Hell yeah, bro. Big hugs, and I want you to pass all of the love along to the wife and the new beautiful, beautiful baby girl. For you guys that don't know, man, Brother Sonny and his lovely wife Megan just brought new shining life into the world. A beautiful young lady with the she has the ease and smile and softness of Megan, but that mean stare expression that is 100% Sonny. Beautiful child. A warrior bloodline continues, and that makes my heart happy. Please give my love to everybody, brother. Good to see you on board. Oh my goodness, who else? We got Dick Shepard back. Good to see you. Hope you're holding up, man. Hope you're holding up. Always good to see you on board. The original Sinner Sister, Emmy. Love you, mama. Mwah. Good to see you. See who else we got. Who else we got? Brother John. Oh my God. Brother John Tim, last of the Grady Park hooligans, brother. That's right, man. We have that special kind of friendship where our way of playing tag is beating each other in the face with fucking sticks. Yeah, man. John, good to have you on board, man. Missed you. Haven't seen you since right before I left to come back up here to the Northwest. Mike on board. Good to see you, man. God damn, man. We got tons of new faces. All the original suspects. What do we got? Country, like any other organization, is made of people. People fucked up. The country didn't do shit. Right the fuck on, Dick. And we're gonna jump into that one with both feet here in a minute, man. I love it. I love it. Wow. Much bigger turnout than I expected, with us being rolling a little bit early. But I'm glad you guys are here. Some logistics, things that I got to handle a little bit later on, necessitated that I be here a little bit early and get a jump start. Hopefully some of the usual suspects will be trailing in a little bit later. Always there. What do we got? Brother Roma, True Secret 1961. So happy almost 4th, man. Close enough. Close enough. And of course, Brother Wolf. How are you, man? How are you? Good Lord, man. We got everybody on board today, man. This, Love to see this level of energy right out of the starting gate. The bumper music, as always, from the early days, back when it was still pretty much the COVID cast, by a band called Red Desert, out of the smoldering embers and ruins of the once great city of Minneapolis, Minnesota. Name of the band is Red Desert. Name of the track is Older, No Wiser. Every week I get a little bit older, and every week you guys get to decide if I've gotten any wiser. Some weeks I do better than others. So we'll see how it comes out this week, man. Once again, we are back for the annual Independence Day Bart of the Union address. It's been a journey, man. I remember the first one of these that I did. It was an Independence Day. I was in West Texas. That's where I was. I was still early on in my crane operator journey. I had just been moved from the wind farm in Nebraska down to one in West Texas. Got there just in time for Independence Day, and hit it up on that Sunday, did the little Sunday sermon, and the whole thing at that point, if you guys remember, that was 2020, man, July of 2020, all of the mostly peaceful protests that were going on. And my sentiment then remains as it ever was. Some things have changed, in the ensuing couple of years, but my sentiment then was, and you guys know me, I am a man of principle, or at least I strive to be a man of principle. And the principle that was guiding me in that moment, there was a lot of shit with the George Floyd riots. I'm sorry, mostly peaceful protests and demonstrations. There were large swaths of U.S. cities that were on fire. There was an entire multi-block area of the city of Seattle that had been essentially taken over. The city of Seattle conceded an entire police precinct and just walked the fuck off. Let these people declare their little CHOP, Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. I had a friend of mine that I went through crane school with, who was from Seattle and was in the middle of that shit. My take, I understand, look, man, if you feel, and this is a matter of principle, and hear me out through and through, if you feel that you have no recourse within the system, and this is anybody, doesn't matter which side of the political fence you are on, and this is what the founders intended. If you feel in your heart of hearts and the conviction of your spirit that you have no recourse within the system, it is your right to take on that system with force of arms, no matter who you are and no matter which side of the coin that you are. The flip side of that is that once you make that decision, you have taken your life into your own hands, and that life is forfeit. If you declare war on a system, then you can expect a fucking militarized response, and you don't get to cry about it when it comes. Our founders took on the British, the most powerful political and military machine in the world at that time. And when they raised their fist up and said, "Fuck you, King George," they knew what they had committed to. We pledge our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor to this cause. And do you think when the British showed up to fucking put them down, they went crying to other countries going, "Oh my God, they're so oppressive, we couldn't have predicted this"? No. They stood the fuck up because they knew what they had signed up for, because they were principled men. Heroic men have heroic flaws. I'm not deifying any of the founders in particular, and certainly not the group of them as a whole. But by God, they knew what they had committed to, and they committed 100%. You cannot say that for the Antifa maggot mob. These guys want to set shit on fire, and the minute the police give it, "Yo, we're going to take you to war, man," and the minute they get the militarized response, they want to cry and play the victim. Doesn't work that way, Sparky. But again, that first Bart of the Union address, Independence Day a couple of years ago, I'm working the wind farm in West Texas, and my sentiment was this: look, man, I have never been of the opinion America, love it or leave it. Ever, right? You will never find me wavering on that point. I am not an America, love it or leave it guy. Because you know what? The founders didn't intend that either. The founders said, love it or change it. And they put a mechanism in place. Checks and balances. One of the best put together, in fact, the best put together structure of a government coming out of a revolution in the history of the fucking world. Their principle, love it or change it, and they had mechanisms in place to change it. So I'm not going to gravitate to America, love it or leave it, and I'm not going to gravitate the flip side of the coin. You got America, love it or leave it. I want nothing to do with that. America, love it or change it. Totally down. But when these maggots cross that threshold into America, love it or burn it, knuckle up, bitch, because now we got a fucking problem. No, America is not perfect. And I meant what I said in the fucking opener. I meant what I said, and I stand by that. I fucking stand by that. We are still, in spite of all our problems, the healthiest patient on the fucking cancer ward. Anywhere else in the fucking world. You know, that famous TV soundbite that everybody got whipped up, that I even got a little whipped up into a frenzy over, about America not being the greatest country in the world anymore. You know, this country has freedom, that country, Belgium has freedom, you know, that all fucking self-righteous, you know, knob. Yeah, they've all got theoretical freedom. Technically, Canada has freedom. Ask the Canadian truckers what kind of freedom they really fucking have. Or, for that matter, anybody that supported them. The UK technically has freedom, but ask anybody who violates their speech codes just how far that freedom fucking goes. You feel me? You tracking? Yeah. We are still the healthiest patient on the cancer ward. And the oddest thing about this cancer ward that we are on as a nation is you actually have doctors working the fucking ward that want the tumors to fucking grow because they think the patient dying on the table is better than a recovery that isn't perfect in their eyes. That's how sick this shit has gotten, people. That's how sick this shit has gotten. So that's where I came in 2 years ago. West Texas, working the wind farm, doing the Sunday sermon. America, love it or leave it, got no time for that. America, love it or burn it, we'll go to war for that. America, love it or change it. What have we seen coming out of the judiciary? You know that I don't deify fucking Darth Cheeto, right? I believe he was, and when I choose my words very carefully here, I do not believe he was the greatest president. I do not even believe that he was necessarily the most effective president. But I will say this absolutely and without equivocation. He was the most consequential president, at least of my lifetime. Why? Because the insanity that he exposed coming out of the political left removed the masks. I have always said that in spite of their love and tolerance rhetoric, that deep down they are wannabe tyrants. They are petty, they are hateful, they are spiteful. And if they only had the stroke, if they only had the spine and the balls, every one of us would be locked up, sterilized, or fucking dead. But they don't. Not as individuals and not even collectively. They need the power of a state to enforce those failed policies. Yeah, their ideas are so good, they need the full fucking faith and backing of a rogue state to squash any fucking dissent. They need the power of censorship to ensure that no other opinions can be fucking expressed. That's how great their ideas are. One thing I learned living at the end of the Cold War and being the Cold War history buff that I am, you want to know who the good guys are? It's the guys that don't have to build a wall to keep people in. It's the ones who don't have to lock people away for having a dissenting opinion and to silence them and call them mentally fucking ill. It's a figure of speech, Ryan. You knew where I was going with that. Don't take me off my train of thought, motherfucker. Good to see you. Yeah, judicial activism, Dick. Yes, judicial activism. How about that? Again, coming back to principle, they haven't seemed to have a problem with judicial activism since at least 1973, as long as it was working in their fucking favor. And now, for the first time in any of our adult lives, at least since 1973, and probably earlier than that, you have a Supreme Court that is sticking to the letter of the Constitution. You have a Supreme Court that is taking away powers that were never delegated to different branches of government, to different bureaucracies. You have a Supreme Court that is saying, we don't have the stroke to do that. First time in the recorded history of human civilization that a government entity gives away power and they have the unmitigated gall to step up and call it judicial activism. And then legitimate examples of real judicial activism. Read the dissent in all of the big cases that moved over the last couple of weeks. Elena Kagan, Sotomayor, Stephen Breyer on the Second Amendment thing. These people, how the fuck do these people pass the bar? Their written dissent in every single one of these decisions is the very epitome, the very definition of judicial activism, of legislating from the bench by definition. But it's okay because they're part of the right team. You have people that stick to the Constitution, suddenly it's a fucking problem. You guys know my thing for Amy Coney Barrett. My Amy. My Amy disappointed me greatly early on, particularly with regard to SCOTUS refusing to hear the 2020 election evidence. But that's par for the course. I don't always get my way. Nor you, nor them, nor anyone. It's like juggling cats that are on fire. The best you can hope is to keep most of them in the air. and not get your eyes scratched out. It's a delicate process. It's a delicate balance. The founders anticipated that. They put the mechanisms in place to ensure that. And now that we're getting back to the original intent and the original practice, it becomes an issue. Giving away power, giving away the power to legislate from the bench and sending Roe v. Wade back to the states is activism? Saying we don't have the stroke to enforce this because we're the judiciary, not the legislative branch? That's activism? Handing the authority to legislate energy policy and telling Congress the EPA doesn't have this, they're a bureaucracy, this is your job. Handing the power back to the Congress, and the Congress says, no! So who's the activist here? A judiciary saying, this power belongs to you, Chuck Schumer. This power belongs to you, Nancy Pelosi. Not a group of unelected fucking bureaucrats. Get on it and do your fucking job. And they deride it as activism. We are definitely through the looking glass on this one, boys and girls. Definitely through the looking glass on this one. It's not banned, hoes and women. I think it's still, they just may have to travel further to do it. Shabuhu, Crimea River for their inconvenience. Brother, we're going to get into that. I got all my bullet points lined up across this. I'm back at the command center. Obviously, you guys see all this artwork back here. The AK-47 silkscreen and the 1911 silkscreen over here, products of Don Rock. You can find him on Instagram, Don Rock 666 Terror Worldwide. He has been a fixture on the art scene in Texas and with underground bands for fucking ever. His spot out in the boondocks, he bought Gibby, Gibby from the Butthole Surfers. He bought Gibby Haynes' old place out in the fucking boondocks. I've hung out there with him. He's been a friend of mine for years and years. He did these two silk screens for me and this enormous fucking poster that I have one level up here at the Bart bunker that adorns the living room. It's the Ohm symbol surrounded by Walther P38s and pictures of Carlos the Jackal. And I mean, there's just so much going on there. If you can imagine, try to imagine the complexity of an H.R. Giger done through the medium of silk screen, right? Like, you ever really get into a Giger print, particularly those of you that might have, imbibed a little of the magic pixie dust, you really get into a Giger print and you see all of those things deeper in there, like how many layers and the enormity and complexity of what's really going on. You can look at it from a distance, but you get up on it, and it's just, oh my God, there's so much happening there that's just overlapping layers over layers. Don does that with fucking silkscreen. Incredible guy. Good friend of mine. Just wanted to give Don a quick shout out. The sign here, Brother Johnny and I pulled out of a guy's yard during political season. Rabbit season, duck season, political season. We pulled that sign out of a yard during political season down in Texas one year. We saw that thing sitting there. And the rich get richer, the poor just die. And the guy had clearly just, spray painted with a stencil. And we thought it was fucking brilliant. And yeah, we ganked the shit out of it. Sorry, guy, if you're out there. Yeah, we stole your fucking sign. I'll buy you coffee. Track me down. Whatever. Said bullet points that will trigger some of the leftists out there. Oh, and I just said trigger. Dang it, right? It's like the junkie game where you can't say you can't say any word that has relevance to IV drug use. Wow, we're going to go out with a bang. Don't say bang. Hey, dude, what was your point? Don't say point. Yeah. Toilet's clogged up. Don't say plunger. It's a junkie thing. Don't try to understand. Let me give you, let me give a couple of quick sponsor shout outs real quick because, I'm already on a fucking tear, and before I lose it, we're almost a half hour in, and I have not given the sponsor shout outs yet. So just a real quick shout out, Brother Roman, of course, one of my oldest and dearest friends, and and his lovely wife Carrie, and Roxy and Allie and the bevy of beautiful women over at opiumtales.com. He is a watercolor artist. They are the erotic pinups and portraits people. He's always off exploring some new artistic medium. He's a phenomenally gifted musician. Right now, his thing is the watercolor thing, and he's doing some brilliant work. And at opiumtales.com, you can also find the testosterone-driven commentary. And you will see very, very quickly why Roman and I have been so close for so long. Not only is he a flagship sponsor of the program, but he's also one of my oldest and dearest friends. And now that I am here in Spokane, however temporarily, yes, and you're absolutely right, yes, with Giger and with Alex Gray, yeah, you don't need drugs. It's just a nice little bonus. Anyway, since I'm here in Spokane, also my Viking brothers, Casey and Dusty Tellison from Nordic Smoke Barbecue, the only legit barbecue in the Inland Northwest, period, end of statement, fucking done. And they are back, sailing the seas of Spokane Valley with the big Viking longship. They got the smoker trailer. They are setting up outside of American Gun and Pawn on Sprague every Thursday. They start at 11 and they sell until they run out. And every fucking week they bring more product, and every fucking week they sell out even quicker because it's fucking incredible goddamn barbecue. Really great stuff. You can check out the episode of, what is it, Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, Guy Fieri's program. They did an episode on them, covered it pretty well, but still, until you get your face around it, it just doesn't quite do it justice, and you're tearing flesh off the bone, and it's like, towel. Okay. Yeah. No, it's fucking amazing barbecue. So get out there, and of course they are a local business, and of course Casey, combat vet, top-notch human being. He wrote his memoir, Freaks of a Feather. It has gotten shout-outs from, he actually got to have dinner with Mad Dog Mattis over the thing, because you guys may not know this, but Mattis is also from Washington State. And it's a phenomenal book as well. So read the book while you got a fistful of Nordic smoke in the other hand. It's going to be a pleasant day for you. All right. Wow, Romy, you weren't familiar with Alex Gray. Wow. Yeah. All I would have needed, you wouldn't even have to look at, all I would have had to say was the guy that does the Tool album covers, and you'd have been like, oh, okay, that guy. Again, in much the same sense as Giger, his style is so fucking unique and identifiable. Like, you look at an Alex Gray and you know that is Alex Gray and no one the fuck else. In the same way that you look at Giger now and you know that is Hans Rudolf Giger and no one the fuck else. But it's become so entwined culturally as a reference point of visual art and the static image that he, like, even if he were alive today, he couldn't sue the people who are so obviously ripping him off, like with movie sets and different artists and things like that, because that nail that he drove in to the culture with that word, bam, that is, I am HR, boom, fucking Giger, and this is my shit, and I'm going to send shockwaves through the art world. Alex Gray, same fucking way. Probably with less use of the word fuck, because Alex is sort of a laid-back, sort of a laid-back hippie kind of guy. DMT, next time you're over. Cool. Absolutely, Ryan. I'm down. Just keep an AK-47 around, because when I do psychedelics, I need my security blanket. Which, by the way, that drives people fucking insane. Because the people who typically do psychedelics are not usually gun guys. And the fact of being around a gun guy under the influence of psychedelics and having somebody be comfortable enough. And, of course, all of the safety rules are still in effect. If you guys ever heard my comedy bit about, the rules of psychedelics, when in doubt, cars are real. When in doubt, guns are loaded. It's just a thing. And, of course, you may have seen the post on the personal page earlier this week about handle every round carefully because it's a human life. Look up the opening sequence for the Nicolas Cage film Lord of War, and that is exactly the sentiment that I've been trying to express. Anyway, yeah, that wouldn't sit well with the red flag law people. Well, at this point, listen, I don't sweat red flag. I'll own that. Yeah, hair's getting a little long. Yeah. Um, the red flag people I don't sweat for the same reason that I don't sweat anyone who would want to put me on it. Aren't you worried about the things you say and it's going to land you on any watch? It's not going to land me on any fucking watch list that I haven't already been on. And at the end of the day, let me explain something to you. I am working, okay, without disclosing either the contractor that I'm working for or the actual person. The project that I'm working right now is a data center. A data center for a very prominent United States-based company. Imagine how much information you can fit onto this little phone. A plethora, those are my college words, I got like 3 of those. You can fit an enormous amount of information onto this little thing that you can hold in your hand. Imagine how much information you can store in this. And this project that I am on measures just their server space, rather, in hectares. Not acres, fucking hectares. Just their service space. So you guys that think that you're flying off the fucking radar, you're not. Just because you don't have a social media profile, and just because, you know, you're not hiding in the shadows. You're not stealthy, dude. You're not staying off the radar for the time the day comes. You're avoiding the fight. That's what you're doing, you fucking coward. You're avoiding the fight. Because no matter how far you go to try to stay off the radar, there is no off the radar anymore, Sparky. It'll take them 9 seconds to find me. It'll take them 2.5 minutes to find you. There's no off the radar. None. The amount of information that these people have, this particular company, along with network databases with all the other big tech companies, let me tell you, it's a joke, but it's not. Their algorithms can extrapolate. Extrapolate. That's my college word. I got like 3 of those. They can take data. They can take known data points. How many people live in your house? Okay. Electronic purchases. How often do you buy toilet paper? When that receipt prints out, bet that information gets stored and sold to fucking advertisers. How often is he using that debit card to buy toilet paper? How many sheets to a roll? How many fucking rolls separated between the number of people living in this house? They can tell you with a reasonable degree of accuracy how many squares of toilet paper you are wiping your ass with. I'm not even exaggerating here, people. So please, when you hear this nonsense, I'm staying off the radar, man. I'm stealth. I'm in the shadows. Go fuck yourself. Find your spine. Let your balls drop, because if you're hiding in the shadows, we don't need you in the shadows. We need you out front. More now than ever. But I'm going to get to all that. How about a little sip just to chill out? I don't have the caffeinated lemonade today. I have my other beloved beverage. You guys know I am a huge fan of ginger beer. Ginger beer is a non-alcoholic fermented beverage. It is not ginger ale. It's got a bite. I love a really, really good ginger beer. And I have a couple of bottles of Reed's. Reed's has got levels. You know, they got like the medium and the strong and the strongest. I buy the red label stuff. The strongest got that real hard ginger fucking bite. And I've got 2 bottles of it wrapped up in ice inside my little battle bottle here. And again, these guys are not a sponsor of the program, but it's ironinfidel.com. You can find this. It's a real high quality, we're talking like Arctic or Yeti quality. Probably a Takea, judging from the lid, but Arctic or Yeti quality, thermos bottle. And on the outside, you got this nice little paracord handle, which is cool. but you also have a key clip, a place for your wallet, and a place for your phone. So if you're going to the gym, instead of carrying a big fucking bag with a couple of water bottles strapped to it, you just stick your wallet and your phone and your keys to this thing, and you walk into the gym with this and a towel, and you're good to go. It's pretty fucking practical, and it's great on fucking road trips. So yeah, the Battle Bottle from IronInfidel.com and Reed's Ginger Beer, which is also not a sponsor of the program, but it makes me happy. So I'm going to have a little sip and chill for a second. Please indulge me. Fuck. Got that bite. Bobby Wilson. Sparky the Clown, Old Jerky Boys reference. Holy fucking shit, Bobby. How are you doing? Nice of you to join us on this fine, bright Sunday. Sparky the Clown, Old Jerky Boys reference. Indeed. And it's cool that you fucking caught that. David, who is, I don't think he's here today, but he's a big fan of the program, old friend of mine, and he loves that fucking Sparky shit. It's just like the most dismissive, yeah, fuck, whatever, Sparky, and just, get out of here, Slappy, what the fuck. Getting back to it. As I was saying, we need you out front now more than ever. Why? Well, I'm going to get to that, but after we do a real quick dip into the rabbit hole. I don't have all of my music and all of my sound effects, so I don't have the applause sound effects, so I just want you to imagine a thunderous roar of applause, right, and the masses stand up and cheer, and the clouds part, and the angelic choirs do sing. Every week, we do this segment, Ryan's Rabbit Hole, where we either do something conspiratorial or historical or esoteric or obscure or any combination of all of the above. Ryan and I are of like mind on this. We are veritable repositories of useless information, which makes us great in a conversation, but murder to fucking play a game of Trivial Pursuit with. And I'm going to go with, I went with the one on this one, Ryan. I jumped the gun on this because I know we had it in the queue, but I'm going to roll with this a week early. Not because it applies to anything, but just because I think this is really fucking cool. You guys know that we have gone over here before. We have gone over the Stanford prison experiment, and we have gone over the Milgram experiment at length, and a couple of others. But, Milgram and Stanford prison, those are the big two, because they are huge indicators of darker sides of human nature that don't generally express themselves, but are always lurking there in the background. You would like to think that humans are more inclined to critical thought, and that people are basically good, and that, it's always the exception when people go along to get along and they do evil things even though they're good people, but that's the exception. No, that is absolutely the fucking rule. This is one experiment that did not get as much play. I'll give you, the Forbes article leads like this. Imagine Big Brother at sea with no chance of leaving or being evicted. Nearly 50 years before the advent of reality TV was what can be described as the precursor to Big Brother and Love Island. Santiago Genovese, basically put an orgy raft at sea. Okay, he floated 10 people out there, and they were encouraged to behave as humans behave on a day-to-day basis. They're at sea, no rules, fuck who you want, how you want, fight who you want, how you want. Basically, that anarchist / hippie commune / if we've got the right people, we can all get along, other stupid shit like, from each according to his ability, to each according to his needs, or some other college nonsense like that. And what they found was exactly what those of us who are of a more cynical bent, and by cynical, I mean open eyes and two brain cells to rub together, was that the whole thing disintegrated into fucking disaster. That without any social structure or rules for order, no matter how many creature comforts and lack of consequence and accountability you put in people's faces, along with hot and cold running pussy, eventually men and women, humans, are no fucking different than the animals. We were spawned from the same fucking muck. The only difference with the Alkali experiment was that it took place at sea, and the reason that it doesn't get the press was because it didn't have a university behind it. There was coverage at the time in 73. Oh, what else happened? What else happened in 73? Ah, man, something's been in the news. Been in the news this week. Supreme Court, something 73. Anyway, I'll figure it out. People were excited about it at the time, but again, our sensibilities as Americans were much more delicate about these things right now. The one thing that Europe doesn't understand about us, and the one thing that we don't understand about Mother Europe, our sensibilities culturally are essentially rooted in Puritan thought. Okay? So when we see how open European cultures are about sex and sexuality, we freak the fuck out. They look at us and see how totally cozy and comfy we are with matters of abhorrent physical violence, and they go, what the fuck? Because both sides have got their fucking hang-ups. In any case, the Alkali experiment, okay? And again, Santiago Genovese, right? Let me fucking spell that out for you. Santiago spelled as one would expect. And the Acali experiment, A-C-A-L-I, which, by the way, happens to be Spanish for home on the water. I had no fucking idea. I would have just thought that was a clever name to give it. Coming out this year, right, or the early part of next year, they keep pushing it back, there is actually going to be a documentary released on this. So get the jump start on it so you can be that snobby motherfucker that goes, well, you know, the real experiment doesn't really line up with the documentary, dude. They took some liberties with that. You can be that asshole. But you're going to look up Santiago Genovese, and you are going to look up the Acali experiment. And that is going to be the rabbit hole for the week, and then let's jump into all of this. So thank you, Brother Ryan, for spitballing with me on that one. Mentioned May the 12th, 88, numerous times. Nada said, make it rabbit hole next, sir. Thank you very much. Yes, indeed. So yeah, we're going to jump on into things now. The Bart of the Union. The Bart of the Union. Well, how do we feel about it right now? I'll show you exactly how I feel about it right now. The opinions expressed by the Reverend give 2 flying fucks and 6 rolling donuts about your feelings. Sit down, shut up, you're wrong. There's a lot to be concerned about, folks. Of course there is. And we could lament that all day fucking long. And that's exactly what they're counting on. Is us lamenting it. Is us looking at every goddamn thing that is wrong and thinking the only thing that can come in and save us is big sweeping assaults of more government power. Boy, isn't that just what we fucking need. In fact, it's the only thing that can save us. And this is where we begin. There is the push. To deny the push would be outright fucking dishonest. And to deny the realities behind the push would be outright fucking dishonest. We are looking at record level inflation. Record level inflation. Those of us who are old enough, Brother James, I know for a fact, and some of the other folks that are here, we are old enough to remember, at least from childhood, for me it was childhood, the runaway inflation of the Carter era, the fuel shortages, and because of the because of the restrictions on imports from OPEC nations, because we didn't have a president at that point who had the brain cells to rub together to think, hey, maybe maximizing U.S. production would be best. Maybe being energy independent would be best. This is what the Biden regime is telling us that they want. Oh, well, it's going to be great when we're energy independent and everything's running off of windmills and solar panels. When is that going to happen, Sparky? We have grids right now that can't handle heat waves in many parts of the country, and places in even the great Lone Star State of Texas that can't handle cold without the grid getting overtaxed. And you want to put everybody in a fucking electric car? We need to get there. One day we can get there, but in the fucking meantime, slow down. But it's something we're looking at. It's something that's out there. It's something that the regime is putting the push on for it. And I'm going to say something. I've clarified this before, but I can't stress it enough. I do not put this on the cadaver in chief. He is a figurehead and not even a very good one. He reads the script, mumbles the script, barely, doesn't take questions, and literally everyone sees it. Remember what we talked about earlier? That parable, the kid, the emperor's new clothes. It took one kid to step out from the crowd and go, dude, the emperor is naked. That kid stepped out of the crowd a long fucking time ago. Nobody buys it. But we're in a version 2.0 of the parable now, where anybody who points it out, the king's guards show up at their house and brace him. The DOJ is entirely fucking weaponized. Entirely fucking weaponized against patriotic U.S. citizens. Anyone to the right of Dianne fucking Feinstein is an enemy of the state now. By their own admission. They had people demonstrating outside the homes of Supreme Court justices in the run-up to the Roe v. Wade decision in an admitted attempt to influence their judicial outcome. That is a felony, boys and girls. Is Merrick Garland on it? Nope. FBI paying attention to it? Nope. But the FBI can bust into Project Veritas because they think they have Joe Biden's daughter's diary. Priorities? The life of Supreme Court justices versus a guy that maybe had a diary, but wouldn't publish it because he couldn't verify it. Priorities. The life of Supreme Court justices and the integrity of the institution of the Supreme Court, or angry parents at school board meetings. You feel me? You tracking? This is not objective. This is not fair. This is not balanced. It is weaponized. These January the 6th hearings, we sat through and watched this lying cunt describe a scenario that was physically nigh on impossible. And people, the fawning faithful, were so committed to the idea. I literally shit-canned two people who have been friends of mine in real life dating back as far as 1995. Because they don't have the patience for it anymore. One postulated that it sounds like exactly the kind of thing that Trump would do, because he's never had consequences for anything in his life. So yeah, I could totally see. Okay, so for that, you could totally see this guy who, again, for the last 6 years, you have said is a sedentary, unathletic, morbidly obese fucking fat ass, and suddenly leaps from the rear of the limo after rolling down the partition on his own, clears one Secret Service agent in one deft move of Paquita Tersha catch and redirect, then pivots his body back into position to grab the steering wheel of the presidential limo and with his free hand reach over and choke the other Secret Service agent. If you saw this in a fucking film, you'd be like, dude, I'm out. This is dumb. Literally within hours, the Secret Service agents in question came right out and said that did not happen, and we are willing to testify to it under oath. And that's all we've heard from the propaganda ministry since then. Well, they haven't testified under oath yet. Yeah, but they said that they hadn't testified under oath. Oh, right. So she was under oath, so she has to be telling the truth. And because they haven't testified under oath yet, they, of necessity, must be lying. Let me tell you two things that are important about that. Yeah, well, again, yeah, there's that. Two things that are important about the Secret Service agents not having testified under oath yet. One, there is a paperwork process. They are federal employees. They have to clear a specific bureaucratic paperwork process to be able to testify in that fucking hearing. Now, Liz Cheney could easily bypass that. The entire big drawn-out process, all Liz Cheney has to do is say, well, we're seriously interested in getting to the truth, and I think this is really going to help out our case and prove that she is above board and 100% correct, so we're going to subpoena them. With one subpoena, she could have both of those Secret Service agents in there testifying under oath. That's not going to happen, and we know why. Because lying whore is lying whore. She even lied about a handwritten memo. There was a handwritten memo that she is depicted as holding in one particular frame of the video that was submitted to evidence. She didn't even write the fucking memo. She testified that she did, but the person who legitimately wrote the fucking memo came out within an hour, was like, she didn't write that memo, I did. I have been a student of propaganda for a long, long time. Been utterly fascinated with it. Like we were talking about, like the other two experiments we were talking about earlier, the Stanford Prison experiment, but particularly the Milgram experiments. Milgram having little to do with propaganda as much as control, but the way and the skill with which people can be manipulated with words, images, and the proper presentation has just been fucking fascinating to me. And you have a disturbingly large proportion of the United States population right now who are so inundated with the propaganda that they don't even realize how completely propagandized they are. In fact, quite the opposite. They are pointing at anyone who disagrees with them, Trump voters or not. You don't even have to be a Trump voter anymore, a Trump supporter anymore. You just have to not agree with them, and they will call you propagandized and brainwashed and members of a fucking cult while they walk around double masked, quadruple boosted, and talking about how great it is that Coke is celebrating Pride Month. Whatever helps you sleep, man. That's a fact. That's a negative. Cadaver in chief, still filtering money through Ukraine. Another $820 million this week. I want you to go to Google and just do a quick search and see what you pull up. Go to Google and say new Ukraine aid package. It will pull up the 820 million, right? It'll pull up the 820 million that we just passed a couple of days ago. 820 million. And then you keep scrolling down and it'll pull up the billion that we sent them a month before that. And then you keep going down and you'll pull up another 700 million that we sent them barely a month before that. And you keep scrolling down. And you keep scrolling down, and you keep finding more and more money that we are sending to Ukraine. And the only thing that Rand Paul asked, Rand Paul refuses to send aid to the poor, beleaguered, downtrodden citizens of... First off, fuck Ukraine. Let me be unequivocal about that. But the only thing Rand Paul said was, look, all I want is for every dollar of this money to be accounted for. But that was too much. That was too much for all of the House Democrats and a disturbing number of House and Senate Republicans who have since gone on to pay Zelensky a little visit. Billions of dollars getting filtered through a country that has always been known as one of the most corrupt governments on that fucking continent. That was the biggest hang up with admitting them into NATO in the first place. Not that NATO was afraid of Putin. They just didn't want these motherfuckers on board because they were corrupt. And it got even worse after Maidan, 2014. The cadaver in chief, that fucking corpse walking around playing president right now, installed his son at Burisma. Ukrainian neo-Nazis, including the Azov battalion, went into ethnic Russia, historically ethnic Russian areas, Donetsk and Luhansk, the Donbass region, and into Crimea, and started slaughtering ethnic Russians. Welding the doors shut on buildings and setting places on fire. Rolling through villages with fucking machine guns. Men, women, children, didn't fucking matter. So cry me a fucking river for Zelensky and fucking Ukraine right now. Cry me a goddamn river. Yeah, you got it. Cry me yeah. You see what I did there? Cry me a goddamn river for Zelensky and every single one of those fucking murderous Ukrops and for what they did to those fucking ethnic Russians. We are expected to believe, getting back to Orwellian doublethink, we are expected to believe on the one hand, ha ha, look at Putin, he can't even kick Ukraine's ass, ha 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 ha. And yet, at the same time, we have to keep sending them billions upon billions in military and straight fucking cash because Putin's going to sweep through Ukraine and take over the rest of Europe. Which is it? 9 seconds of critical thought, motherfucker. Which is it? Russia's a punk that can't whip their next door neighbor, or Russia is an existential threat to Western civilization who's going to sweep through Europe like butter through a biscuit. What is it? You don't get to have it both ways anymore. Biden tells Americans angry about high gas prices that they'll have to pay up for as long as it takes to defeat Putin in Ukraine. Again, blaming everyone. And here's the one thing that did make me happy about it. Of all the fucking people, Jeff Bezos, as lefty as they fucking come, Biden supporter as they fucking come, wannabe tyrant billionaire as they come. He is the anti-Musk. All right? For those keeping track at home, and you know how I feel about St. Elon the Beneficent, Jeff Bezos is the anti-Musk. And he's constantly been on board with the left. But as of this week, when fucking Biden still carrying it too far, blaming gas station owners for the price at the pump. This was the tweet, President Biden, and of course he didn't write it. Again, his handlers. United States government official. My message to the companies running gas stations and setting prices at the pump is simple. This is a time of war and global peril. Bring down the price you are charging at the pump to reflect the cost you're paying for the product. And do it now. Period. Oh, you stern father figure, you. Newsflash, Sparky, they are charging what is reflecting the price they're paying for the product. And that price is abhorrently high. And why? Because of your fucking policies. And everyone knows it. Even the people that continue to be fawning faithful and they lie, they know it. This was Jeff Bezos. He's blaming not only gas prices, but inflation on the Ukraine crisis. Everything is Putin's fucking fault, says the cadaver and his fucking handlers. But Jeff Bezos, again, there's a lot of darkness, but you got to look for that light. Here's the light. Bezos, his response, ouch. Inflation is far too important a problem for the White House to keep making statements like this. It's either straight ahead misdirection or a deep misunderstanding of basic market dynamics, says a Democrat, a liberal, a leftist, a Ministry of Propaganda part owner. He is the machine. And he can't countenance this bullshit anymore. It's gone too fucking far. But the good news is we're getting the pushback. I get encouraged. The bigger the lies get, I get encouraged. The harder they push for power, the more egregious, my college word, I got like 3 of those. The more egregious the overreach, the better I feel about it. Because people there are 2 factors you got to take into account for the average grazer. Normalcy bias and cognitive dissonance. Normalcy bias is that thing in your subconscious that dictates, hey man, things are it's basically going to be okay. I mean, this is all par for the course. It's a little outside, but everything's basically good. Cognitive dissonance is that absolute refusal to even attempt to assimilate facts that contradict what you already know. But both normalcy bias and cognitive dissonance fail when the weight of the bullshit becomes so overwhelming that it no longer has even a tangential connection to any sort of mainstream reality construct. We are not only there, we're way past it. This from the Ministry of the Interior. I'm sorry, Department of the Interior, because it's a it's a government, not a regime. U.S. Department of the Interior. From day one, President Biden and I have made clear our commitment to transition to a clean energy economy. The time for the public to weigh in on our future is now. Time for the public to weigh in. Newsflash, Sparky, we are weighing in. Poll after poll. Survey after survey. Random interview after random interview. Truth after truth that keeps coming out in spite of their media machine and propaganda ministry's efforts to continue the lie. We are weighing in. We say no. But you don't listen. Kind of a drag. But I feel good about it. Because that's exactly the level of egregiousness it is going to take in terms of overreach for your average grazer to have any sort of goddamn reaction to it. And they are shaking off the fence. Whole ethnicities that the Democratic Party used to be able to take for granted are breaking away. We talked about this a little last week. I want you to ponder this. They have left the border open with the very specific intent, which has been part of the intent of the program ever since 1965, to minimize European immigration and to bring in immigrants from the third world. The grand hope was that the demographic replacement would wind up giving the Democratic Party a whole slew of lifelong Democratic voters. But here's what they weren't counting on. All of the Mexicans that have come streaming across that fucking border, the ones that have gone on to attain their citizenship, the ones that can vote legally, not that that's ever stopped a Democrat, they don't want to be part of this. They came here for an American dream that they are watching this cadaver and his fucking ilk destroy. Why would they be down for that? Did you see what happened with Mayra Flores down in the Rio Grande Valley? That seat has not been Republican in 140 odd fucking years, and she won in a 97% Latino district. There are 4 more Latinas that are running in the fucking midterms, and I think they're going to sweep. How glorious that the Democrats have planted the seeds of their own undoing. Let's leave it wide the fuck open, bring them all in, give them fucking blanket amnesty, and they'll vote Democratic for life. Well, no, because they did the non-criminal among them, did come here, and sorry, I'm not gonna clean that up. I'm not gonna clean that up. Huge fucking criminal element, and the cartels do control the fucking border now, and I'm not gonna even try to sanitize that one. But the ones who did come here for a better life are watching the hopes of that fucking disappear. Other places in the third world, look at all the Nigerians that have come here. They have opportunities here that they never would have fucking found in sub-Saharan Africa, and they have done exceedingly well for themselves. Nigerian immigrants, by every metric of measure, do better than native-born black Americans. Wow, it's almost as if it's not all about race, because last time I checked, weren't a whole lot of blue-eyed devils among those Nigerian imports now, were they? They're doing great. Want to talk more about fucking bias? I'm going to end that argument with one fucking word, and that word is Asian. Oh yeah, we got a system set up and fucking founded in white supremacy. Oh, okay. But the Asians are doing better than us white blue-eyed devils by every standard of fucking measure. Higher IQ, better college admission, better college performance, higher academics across the board throughout high school, lower violent criminality, the lowest level of illegitimate births, better family cohesion, every fucking standard of measure. They are burying us white folk. So one of two things has to be true here. Either A, we really did try to set this system up for fucking white supremacy, and we're just so dumb that we left a big open loophole. Or maybe it really, really, really is rooted hardcore, and they found a way around it. And if they found a way around it, what the fuck is stopping you? In microcosm, I have the same fucking personal conflict when I see these homeless derelicts and fucking junkies with needles hanging out of their fucking neck populating this goddamn homeless camp barely a mile from the fucking bunker. Tent camp, human feces, dirty needles, the whole fucking thing. And on the one hand, we all know my history, don't we? Those tats are there to cover fucking scars, baby. We all know my fucking history, and I've never made any bones about it, right? So I'm loath to judge on the one hand, but on the other hand, I walked away from it a quarter century ago. What's stopping you, Sparky? No sympathy anymore. Done. Done. There is a rising tide coming, and it is going to lift all fucking boats, and the only thing we have to do is believe. Believe in what makes us great as individuals, as Brother Dick was talking about. The country didn't fuck up. Individuals did. And it's going to be individuals that are going to have to win that shit back. All of us together as individuals. Strong individuals make for strong collectives. Okay? Even if we're going to dip our toe in the Marxist pond for a minute of collectivism. Strong individuals make for strong fucking collectives. That is why communism fails. Because the people that gravitate to that fucking way of life are weak. They are fundamentally weak. They need someone to hold them up. They need someone to tell them what to do. They need the power of a state to save them from themselves. They are fundamentally fucking weak. And that is why they fail every fucking time. Every time. When I got clean, and there are going to be some 12-steppers out there, and if this bothers you, sorry, but I'm going to speak the truth if it's short dicks every cannibal on the Congo. I don't care. I avoided 12-step meetings. Why? And they were court-ordered at one point. And I told my probation officer, I fucking told her point blank, I was like, look, you have got to find some modifier on this. Because if I keep going to these 12-step meetings, I am going to use just so I won't be like them. A room full of weak fucking people does not equal one strong fucking person. You just got a room full of fucking weakness, sitting around commiserating, looking to make excuses for each other's fucking failures. So I 12-stepped my ass right out of the fucking room and adhered to the raw malice school of sobriety. It served me pretty fucking well. Your mileage may vary. Yeah, there's plenty fuck that we could be pissed about. I'm going to play this to you now. This is from GBN Live in the UK, right? About drug companies and the regulations, and this is going to get into the vaccine stuff that we've known is bullshit.
They are backed up by a peer-reviewed report in the BMJ, leading medical journal. I mean, how worried should we really be? It's quite easy to paint a picture of nefarious goings-on, of big pharma as a huge shadowy industry who doesn't care about our health, only about their profit margins. I mean, is it really that bad, or is this a case of looking at something which could become potentially quite serious in certain areas if it isn't sorted out now?
I think.
Look how she tries to clean it up before the answer even comes to the question. She's trying to backpedal and clean it up. Oh, is it really that bad, or is it just something that could get that bad? Leave it in plenty of room, but he doesn't fucking buy it. Listen.
I think it's very bad, actually. And it comes back to really the legal obligation of the drug industry. People need to understand is to produce profit for shareholders. They have no legal obligation to give you the best treatment. But the real scandal, and this was pointed out by cardiologist Peter Wilmses in the Center of Evidence-Based Medicine in a talk he gave in 2015, the real scandal is that doctors, institutions, medical journals collude with industry for financial gain, and the regulators fail to prevent misconduct by industry. And we have a wealth of evidence of fraud that's been committed by the pharmaceutical industry over the years. But for them, it's the cost of business, because even though they've committed fraud, and we're talking about most of the top 10 pharmaceutical companies, and don't have to name any particular one.
Ah, very, very clever. Not to name any particular one, because guess what? That particular one was a sponsor of this fucking program. But this is how open it is now. This is how open it is now. No one's buying the lie. No one's afraid of the 7-year-old stepped out of the crowd. They're all pointing at that fucking naked emperor now. This guy's on a news program, which is sponsored by fucking Pfizer, and he won't come out and name Pfizer by name, but he calls out the fraud in the pharmaceutical industry. He calls out the way that the medical journals collude with the companies, that collude and lobby the fucking governments. He calls it all out. He just wouldn't take that last step and use the word Pfizer. That's cool. I get it. This is what to feel good about people. That no amount of push and no amount of fucking propaganda can hold the lie up anymore. And no amount of fear in an attempt to crush people from their dissent. No amount of fear of social repercussions. No amount of fear of ostracism by your family or your peer group or your school group or your work fucking community. No amount. All those things that people felt like they had to lose, you've pushed us to a level where we have nothing left to lose anymore. Giving up all hope. What do we know from Fight Club? I found freedom. Giving up all hope was freedom. We're not going to change anything. We're not going to change anything by going along to get along. We're not going to change anything by being afraid. We've finally gotten pushed to the point where we have nothing left to fucking lose. Those of us who have families, we're looking at our kids and wondering what kind of goddamn world we're going to leave for them. How we're going to be able to look them in the face if that power structure and that regime were allowed to continue unchecked. We're having to look at ourselves in the mirror and go, what am I going to say to my fucking kids? Pushed a lot of people to the backs of the fucking corner. What happens? Even a sheep, and I don't mean a Democratic voter, I mean a legitimate four-legged sheep, will fight if backed into a corner and feels its life being threatened. That's where they pushed us. What have I said? I know it sounds counterintuitive, but every new egregious fucking overreach, I beam with fucking happiness, man. Did you see what Washington State just did? They fucking passed a magazine ban for fucking high-capacity magazines. Great! Fucking awesome! Because now the FUDs of the world, and you gun people, you know what a fucking FUD is. Now the FUDs of the world have to fucking take a serious look and go, wow, dude, they are coming for our shit. But even better, the other takeaway. You can't prove, because they have a grandfather clause in the fucking law, you can't prove shit about where and when I bought those fucking magazines. The law bans the importation, bans the purchase, bans the sale, does not ban the possession, as long as they were bought before the law passed. Well, how do you fucking know? The totes full of mags that I have in my fucking basement, did I buy them over the course of the Obama presidency? Or did I drive across to a gun show in Idaho and just drive them back across the border? Guess what? They're not time and date stamped. So it's another overreach, which is shitty. But I love it because, again, they're showing their true fucking faces and people don't like what they see. And that big overreach, that big power grab, we're going to shut down high-capacity magazines and make it hard on these guys, is unenforceable. They fail again. What was I saying earlier about Trump being the most consequential president? Most consequential president of our life. Why? Because of what he did with the judiciary. Why do you think they are trying to call the legitimacy of the court into question for judicial activism? Judicial activism was fine when it was working for them. All the powers that they wanted, I've said this as far back as the Bush junta, administration. What power gets seized by any particular team in any particular branch today will ultimately be used against them when the shoe is on the other foot. Harry Reid found out the hard way when he busted it down to simple majority for fucking Supreme Court justice confirmations. Oopsie. Then the Republicans got back in power. How'd that work out for you, Harry? May you rest in peace. Thanks for fucking opening the UFO files. You fuck. It's coming back to bite them in their fucking sanctimonious asses, and I think it's the most beautiful thing in the fucking world. They will impugn the legitimacy of the judiciary. Of course they will, because it's not going their way. In the same sense that they will swear up and down that the mere thought that an election could be manipulated, let alone stolen, is a crazy tinfoil hat conspiracy theory until they get crushed in the midterms and crushed again in 2024, at which point this same crowd will regale us, weaving a tapestry of excuses of how it was all stolen and Putin is behind it, the Russians! There's no principle with these people. There's no honesty with these people. We got to be bigger than that. There's no honesty with that collective because there's no honesty with them as individuals. And that is one realization that I keep fucking coming to every time one of these situations rears its ugly head and someone who has been close to me for decades, someone who I thought I knew, someone who I thought was a person of principle, shows their true fucking colors. A lot of times, guys that fucking thump their chest about principle, that's not a principled stand, motherfucker. You're just a coward and you haven't found the right boogeyman yet. I'll never let the government tell me what to do and fucking say that I can't watch a certain program or that I can't have a certain kind of sex. Hey man, take this jab or you lose your job. Yes, Dr. Fauci, right here. Give me another. Give me another. You were never principled. You were a fucking coward and they just hadn't found the right boogeyman. And I know every one of us here has got a ton of those motherfuckers in our orbit. Cut them the fuck loose. Or allow them to walk on their own, because they are not serving any purpose for you as an individual. And what did I just say about the strength of individuals? Strong individuals make a strong collective. So you let those weak individuals go with their team and make their pussy little collective that shits on America and every fucking thing that normal, decent human beings fucking represent. Let them have their little pity party. Let them have it. They don't matter anymore. They project the image because they got control of the propaganda. What do we know about stimulus response? We go over it almost every week. You control the stimulus, you control the fucking response. But the stimulus doesn't control the response anymore because everyone knows the stimulus is bullshit. They control the media. They control the perception. They don't control shit in the real fucking world. It's us. We are the ones who build shit. We are the ones who go to work and put in the fucking labor and construct these magnificent fucking things that this goddamn country is known for. We are the ones whose taxes get forcibly yanked from our accounts to pay for the dregs and the scumbags. And you know what? Up until now, we've taken it. Maybe you go to church on Sunday. Maybe you don't. Doesn't matter. There is a clear line of demarcation between good and decent people and everything that the left represents now. Everything. And as a result, even mainstream liberals are jumping ship. They don't want anything. And I'm talking high-profile mainstream liberals. Anybody been paying attention to Bill Maher the last fucking couple of months? The last grown-up on the fucking left. And what do? They eat their fucking own. They always have. I want you to hear this. I'm just gonna play. I'm gonna play a little bit of it. It's Joe Biden. I found this on Twitter, on James Woods' accounts on Twitter. If you're on Twitter, go to twitter.com/realjameswoods. And watch the feed. I'm going to play this for about a minute and a half. It's a much younger Joe Biden, a much less dementia-addled cadaver Joe Biden, back when he still had full control of his mental faculties. I'm going to play this.
A piece of crack cocaine, no bigger than this quarter that I'm holding in my hand, $1/4 of $1. We passed a law through the leadership of Senator Thurmond and myself and others, a law that says if you're caught with that, you go to jail for 5 years. You get no probation.
5 years.
You get nothing other than 5 years in jail. Judge doesn't have a choice.
Judge doesn't have a choice.
Under our forfeiture statutes, you can,
forfeiture statutes,
take everything you own. Everything from your car to your house, your bank account, not merely what they confiscate in terms of the dollars from the transaction that you've just got caught engaging in. You can take everything.
All for a rock of cocaine this fucking big. Now, that sounds big and dramatic, but when you go to James Woods' feed, what you can't see, and what I wish I could have put on the screen for you there, is it's a split screen. It's that young Joe Biden thumping his chest about how tough he is on crime and putting people, particularly young African Americans, oopsie Joe. Funny how that one came back and bit you in the ass, but that's why the Democrats are losing the African American vote now. Big tough on crime, incarcerating shitloads of them. But the other half of that split screen, I'll give you one guess. Hunter fucking Biden hitting a fucking crack pipe. This disgusting piece of shit, this corrupt, lifelong fucking politician, it's it's no surprise that this motherfucker and his evil little family would be involved with a country like Ukraine and a leader like fucking Zelensky. They are two fucking peas in a corrupt, sick, sociopathic little fucking pod. And now it's become a money laundering operation. Millions after millions, turning into billions. We have given over $60 billion to Ukraine since March. And last I checked, we can't even correct our own fucking supply chain issues here in the States. What's really going on? Bart, when do we get to the good part? Stay with me. I'm not done. I'm not done. Today in Portland, we got treated as certain fireworks are illegal in both Oregon and Washington. KOIN filed a whole report about how you should snitch out your neighbors if they're using illegal fireworks. It's funny, though, because KOIN had no such compunction about illegal fireworks when they were being used to attack a federal courthouse for an entire goddamn year in 2020. Because Antifa. Because the Antifa maggot mob. But here's why none of it matters. Here's why I can rage, I can get angry, but here's why I feel charged up about this. Here's why I feel optimistic about it. Here is the affirmative. We are set to fucking win. Our victory here is no less than fucking inevitable. They do not have the stroke to stack the Supreme Court the way they would like to. They don't have it. They would. They would in a second if they had the stroke, but they don't. They would end the filibuster if they had the stroke, but they don't. They would have passed sweeping assault weapons bans and probably many other classes of weapons if they had the stroke, but they don't. They have a razor-thin majority in the House, and they have a literal 50-50 split in the Senate, with Kamala Harris being the fucking tie-breaking vote. That's what they have. And by the time these midterms are over, the propaganda ministry can scream about Russian interference all day long, but it will not fucking matter, because we will have, mark my words, we will have filibuster-proof majorities in both fucking houses. Do you understand the stroke that is? Getting back to what we talked about the first, man, State of the Union, Independence Day. We declared our independence from the British, and we created this magnificent system with the checks and the fucking balances. Legislative makes the laws. Executive executes and enforces the laws. Judiciary, the judicial branch, determines the constitutionality of that law. We control the judicial branch now. It has not been that way for a long, long time. And they can cry and piss and moan about Gorsuch, about Kavanaugh, about my Amy. But at the end of the day, they were all put through under constitutional process. And if you don't like it, there's a constitutional process to attempt impeachment. It's called winning elections and getting majorities. And we have been on the receiving end of that for decades now. And by receiving, I mean that prison bottom bunk kind of receiving. No spit, no fucking mercy. But the tide's fucking turned now, hasn't it? We took it in stride, as we are expected to. This is the problem. This is the problem with being conservative. We're expected to roll over and take it. And if we even bristle, the propaganda ministry unloads and says that we're extremists, right-wing ideologues bent on overthrowing the government, insurrectionists, that somehow showed up without fucking weapons. Oh, by the way, lying bitch that gave the President John Wick fucking story. Yeah, she said that She said that the insurrectionists on January 6th were fixing spears to the ends of flagpoles. Yeah. And there were also apparently dozens of AR-15s in the crowd, which, even though they spotted those AR-15s in the crowd, no arrests were made, despite the fact of AR-15s being illegal in the District of Columbia. The lies just keep on lying, whatever. I don't want to give her any more fucking time, Jesus. But here's where the legislative branch passed a law. Red flag laws, raising the age limit or more intense background checks for 18 to 21s that are trying to buy particular classes of weapons, all these other things. That's great. They made that law. They passed it. That law eventually will butt up against the judiciary. And I don't mean necessarily the Supreme Court, because the other thing that Darth Cheeto did was nominate literally hundreds of justices to the lower courts. So before it even gets to SCOTUS, it'll be kicked down the road and say, no, you can't fucking put this into effect. It's that magnificent dance. Let me jump straight into the other one, the EPA decision. Here's an example. The Supreme Court basically ruled that in West Virginia, the EPA came through and said, no, we've just got broad sweeping authority, and we're going to tell you we're going to shut down these fucking plants. We have the authority to do it. They certainly did not. That authority was never handed to them by Congress. It was never codified into law by Congress. It was the dictate of unelected bureaucrats. In the same sense that the CDC put a restriction on fucking evictions coming through the pandemic. That wasn't constitutional either. And the court struck that down. Unelected bureaucrats don't have the authority to make laws that carry that kind of weight. OSHA cannot just take it upon themselves to go, well, it's a workplace safety issue. You have to get a vaccine. Biden administration attempted to do that. They failed. The CDC does not get to say, we're in a time of pandemic, so all you landlords that still have to pay the mortgages on all these fucking properties that you hold right now, well, they don't have to pay the rent. You've still got to pay your bills. We're not giving you a break. So if you don't pay your bills for the properties that you own, those properties go back to the bank. But these fucking deadbeats and scumbags that we're giving money to, that are spending it on God knows what the fuck else, anything but their bills, no, they don't have to pay their bills. Oh, guess what? Supreme Court said they don't have the authority to do that. Well, how shocking. How shocking that unelected bureaucrats wouldn't have the power to do something like that. That the EPA wouldn't have the power to just do that. Well, who's got the power? The legislative branch of government. The same Congress that is screaming about the nature of these decisions. Why? Because now Congress will have accountability. You see where this is going? The rights for making large decisions like abortion going back to the fucking states. As a man of principle, I would hold that the gun thing should probably be along that line. That's a principled stand. Still makes me smile to see California getting fucked up the ass. But as a principled stand, I feel like California does have the right to make their own decisions about that, about May issue. I feel like that was an overstep. Yeah. A lot of you guys are going to be mad at me for that. But that's the principled stand. But here's the kicker. California again showing their true fucking colors. The left again showing their true fucking colors. The minute they got flexed on, they fought back in the Attorney General's office in California. This story, this from the Examiner. We warned you, California just went and leaked gun owners' personal data. That's right. All these records that they want to keep, all these directories that they want to keep. Their personal information got leaked allegedly accidentally. The personal information of gun owners and CHL holders in the state of California got leaked publicly. This is the left's way of fighting back. Constitutional process? Fuck constitutional process. Laws? What the voters want? That doesn't mean fuck all to us. Oh, okay, you're going to tell us you're going to tell us we have to issue permits? Cool. We're just going to go ahead and release these people's personal information and make them potential victims of violent crime, including robbery and homicide. We're just going to release their shit on the internet. There you go. This is how they fight back. So I'll be damned if I will hear complaints about overreach and judicial activism from these fucking unprincipled scumbag, subhuman pieces of shit. I won't hear it. I won't hear it. Finally, goddamn conservatives have realized that they are in a fight. And they're fighting. I feel bad for the lefties. I really do. For years they have been assigning this to us. That we are the ones, as they burn cities down in fiery but mostly peaceful protests, they have been assigning the extremism and the violence and everything that goes along with that. They have been assigning that to us. It no longer holds. But if you want to see what it looks like when we decide to fight back, saddle up, Sparky. About to get a taste of it. It's already begun. But we're legitimately bringing that fight. We control the judiciary. We control the entire constitutional process. And by the end of the midterms, we will have filibuster-proof majorities in both houses of Congress. Mark my fucking words. Oh, Bart, they're going to try to steal the election. They're going to be voter fraud. No. The margin of outrage. And again, mark my words. And if I'm wrong, you guys know me well enough to know that I'll own it. The margin of outrage and disgust at these people who are dismantling everything by design, the margin of outrage and disgust with these people is going to far exceed the margin of error figuring in for fraud. They can't do 2020 again. No one's buying. Here we go. No one's buying that. Every new fucking mask mandate that they're trying to drive down. Nobody's buying it. Oh, we got a new strain. We're gonna have to re-examine the vaccine thing. Nobody's buying it. They burned up every option they had with the fear. Fear is like adrenaline, designed for survival, but fear, for better or worse, wears down like an adrenaline spike. Bad for them. Keeping people afraid long-term is a difficult proposition. That's exactly where the fuck I was going, Brother James. Thank you so much. They burned it all out. You can't frighten people with COVID anymore. They're fucking over it. They're seeing the lies. You can't frighten people with, right-wing extremism anymore. You can't. Because now you're making domestic terrorists out of their fucking neighbors. You can't terrorize them with overreach, taking their fucking rights away, because people figured out real quick that Roe versus Wade didn't say any of the things that Roe versus Wade being overturned didn't do any of the things that they had assigned to it. Nothing. I'm going to throw this out. You guys know about my Amy, right? My Amy. You guys will also know that I'm a huge fan of Ann Coulter. I make no apologies for that. She's my Annie. See, my Amy and my Annie. I'm going to give you a brief synopsis. This was in her column this week. Abort the mission, abort. What abortion decision? Let's talk about Trump. This is from her syndicated column, Unsafe. And I'm just going to throw some sound bites out here. All of her stats, I should point out, are from the Guttmacher Institute. The Guttmacher Institute is a pro-abortion think tank, all right? A pro-eugenics think tank with a German name. Where have I fucking heard this before? Sounds vaguely familiar. Some guy with a funny mustache. Anyway, the Guttmacher Institute for the Vaterland. Anyway, they are a pro-abortion organization, and she used statistics from the Guttmacher Institute. So all of her stats on this are coming from a pro-abortion group. According to Guttmacher Institute, 930,160 abortions are performed in the U.S. every year. The lion's share of those abortions occur in states that Biden won. 68% of all abortions are performed in blue states and 32% in red states. That's according to the CDC. All of those blue states, since Roe versus Wade got overturned, are opening their restrictions even wider, making it easier to get an abortion even later. So, where's an abortion getting outlawed? Far from restricting abortion, the blue states have begun wildly expanding abortion rights in response to the Dobbs decision. That means, straight out of the chute, we're down to only 297,651 abortions per year that are even at risk for being banned under Dobbs. But it goes on. According to Guttmacher, 54% of all abortions already are medication abortions. In other words, they're accomplished with pills that are given within the first 10 weeks of pregnancy. Good luck trying to ban that. We can't even keep fentanyl out of the country. And so we're down to, at most, 136,919 abortions a year that could theoretically be banned post-Dobbs. In fact, it'll be significantly fewer than that because a lot of the red state bans will still permit abortion in the first trimester. Guess how many abortions take place in the first trimester? 92%, according to the CDC. 43% occur in the first 6 weeks. So, taking account the actual statistics, fewer than 100,000 abortions that were legal 2 weeks ago will be removed from possibility of being a legal abortion. Less than 100,000 out of the 960,000 that are committed every year. Fewer than 100,000 are even at risk of being outlawed. And fewer than that because it's very precious few fucking states that have completely outlawed it. And already cottage industries are springing up all over the place to take women out of state to get abortions. Charities are covering it. Businesses, corporations are offering to cover the travel and medical expenses of women that need to leave out of state to get an abortion. Why? Because they're so down with women. Because they support women. They believe in empowering women. No. Because these sick fucks would rather pay for you to suck that kid out through a tube than to cover your maternity leave. And you consider this empowering. Mainstream America does not. And that's why you lose. Just because you are in the majority does not mean that you are of necessity right and correct on any level. Physical, financial, spiritual, moral. Doesn't mean that. But in any sort of representative democracy, whether a constitutional republic like ours or a mob rule democracy, the way that the leftists want it, if you are in the majority, you make the fucking rules. But unfortunately for them, they're not in the majority. They haven't been for a long time. It is only the perception that they are in the majority that has even kept them on the fucking radar up until now. And that is failing. That is failing. This same president wanted to lament that the Roe versus Wade decision had dangerous repercussions for the right to privacy. Since when is the United States federal government giving 2 flying fucks at 6 rolling donuts about our privacy? Brennan lied. They spy on our private information all the time. They gather metadata. We live in a surveillance state. So I will be fucked ragged if I'm going to hear concerns about privacy from this, or for that matter, any other presidential administration. The lies are falling apart, people. The lies are coming apart. And everything that they're trying to sell us, as Brother James Pearson just brilliantly articulated, by the way. Thank you, brother. It can't hold anymore. Fear is a powerful motivator. And for years, they have held it over our head like a fucking cudgel. The fear of social repercussion. The fear of the FBI kicking in your door at 3 o'clock in the morning. They're really ramping that one up now. The fear of the government spying on your phone calls. The fear that your peer group would reject you. The fear that you could be ostracized from your family for feeling the wrong way, or for thinking something that the glow box didn't tell you was okay to think. Fear, fear, fear. The fear of the pandemic. And when the fear of the pandemic wasn't enough, the fear that you might be perceived as not having enough fear of the pandemic because you didn't wear your fucking 3 masks and your face shield, and you're not you're not 4 times fucking boosted. Fear. And it's all played out. The fear of being called a racist or a bigot. You know what? At this point, even if people were racists and bigots, they'd fucking own it. But beyond that, people who don't have a fucking bigoted bone in their body are walking around like, I don't care. You're going to call me a bigot? Okay. Doesn't carry the weight anymore. People don't shrink from it anymore. The unintended consequence is that's going to make legit bigots even bolder. But again, we didn't pick that fight. They did. But that fear is exhausted. Fear is a powerful motivator. And on our end, that fear has burned itself completely out. It is exhausted. We have nothing to be afraid of anymore because we don't have anything to lose anymore. We are watching. You want my State of the Union? We are watching this magnificent fucking republic. Even if I didn't believe in America itself, I believe in the promise of this great fucking nation. I believe in what the founders laid down. I believe in the inherent righteousness of the American working man and fucking woman. Calling me a sucker, calling me a bigot, calling me a right-wing extremist, but I still believe in those things. I was raised in those things, and I've had my departures. You guys know my history, man. I've done the hard right, I've done the hard left, and now I'm just hard-ass old man. Born again hard, as it were. Renewing my faith not only in the promise of America, but as a reflection of the promise of myself, because it's those strong individuals that make those strong collectives. And I've never seen a stronger group of individuals than down-ass righteous Americans. We were the envy of the fucking world before we lost our spine. We were the envy of the fucking world before we let fear pull our nuts up under our fucking livers. We were the envy of the fucking world, and we made no apologies for it. But somewhere along the line, we let guilt and fear and a bunch of whining little maggots shame us into denying our greatness. That's not just America. That's Western civilization, baby. You feel me? The mere concept of representative government, the mere concept of the sovereignty of the individual, let alone the magnificent cultural contributions that are all the product of the West. I'll go one further, all the product of fucking Europe. I'll be called a bigot for that. And again, 2 flying fucks and 6 rolling donuts, baby. I believe in the promise of the West. I believe in the promise of Western civilization, European cultural standards as manifested by the founders of the United fucking States of America, laid down in writing, set in stone, the checks, the balances, the delegation of powers, the autonomy and sovereignty of the individual, and the strength that it took for us to build this nation. I can hear the echoes right now, these whining little maggots in the background. Yeah, but what about the yellow barrel and racism and the cockroaches and the fucking Native Americans and the fucking building on the back of black slavery, right? Yes! Yes, Sparky, I get it. We've done some really, really horrible shit, and we have made amends for that bigger and better than any civilization in the history of the fucking world. We are done apologizing. Because anything that could be achieved through an apology, particularly the empty kind of apologies that these leftist maggots advocate, anything that could be accomplished through an apology is going to be more efficiently dealt with through actionable means and works to correct the situation in question. What had more impact? Apologizing for fucking slavery? Or creating a country where blacks, African or otherwise, have a higher standard of living than they do anywhere else in the world? What did more? An apology for the anti-Chinese sentiment when they were fucking immigrating here on the West Coast? Or assimilating them into our culture where they now exceed our own standard by every metric of measure? What did more for them as a people? An apology or an opportunity? And as much as these maggots are trying to destroy it, that opportunity still exists here and nowhere else in the fucking world. So pardon me if I'm going to let my nuts drop, fucking thump my chest a little bit and say that I'm still proud to be a fucking American. For whatever that means to you, I know what it means to me. I'm not defined by it. But I believe in the promise of this fucking nation. I believe in that spirit of 76. I believe in the balls that it takes to stand up to what could be the most powerful regime on the planet and say, no more, I'm going to live my life my way. You don't get to dictate this shit to me anymore. Only unlike 1776, the regime that we might have to stand up to is right here in front of our faces, right here in this great nation. Now, I do not advocate initiating fucking violence. Let's not even play here, people. And anyone who does is a dangerous human being or someone who's never been exposed to it. If you have never watched somebody die, if you have never seen a man's abdomen get opened up and watched intestines spill out of him and know what the fuck that smells like, If you've never seen a body twitch with a big chunk of the skull missing after they take a 9mm to the head, if you've never heard howling and screaming and again get that fucking abdominal wound smell when a guy's carrying around a double-aught buck in his guts, you never seen nobody spout from their fucking neck when somebody opened them up with a fucking ice pick. I don't want to hear your take on violence and how we need to just knuckle up and let's get in there and get it on. Let's get the boogaloo on, motherfucker. No, I don't want to hear from you, man. I don't want to hear from you. The virtue, as Jordan B. Peterson is fond of saying, drawing the distinction between being peaceful and being harmless. The virtue is in having the tenacity and the skill set and the ability and the capacity to perform these horrendous acts, the skill sets to deliver them, and holding it back and having the discretion to make the right call for when the time comes. But I still hold, even at this late hour, I still hold that the founders didn't let us down. I still hold that we are within that margin of error where, as I said at the outset of the program, when anyone no longer has recourse within the system, it is their right to take up arms and to fight with everything they got. I hold to that sentiment. Maybe I'm being blindly optimistic. I'd like to think that my optimism is justified, but I still believe in my heart of hearts that we are within that margin of error where we still do have recourse within the system. We will see rolling forward in November. We will see with regard to what happens after that going into 2024. But I believe that we still do have recourse. I'm optimistic about that, but at the end of the day, even if I am incorrect, I still hold the optimism. Because those that want to crush the spirit that's in the heart of every fucking American, the people that want to shit on the process that our founders gave us, the ones that want to piss all over the promise of this country and all of the great things that we have done, the ones who want to undermine all of Western civilization because it doesn't live up to their fucking idea of a utopia. All that they have is a lot of empty ideas that will require the force and the strength of a state to put into effect. And that state, where we're going now, is losing legitimacy. Part of our recourse is having the ability to bring that legitimacy back. Part of our recourse is having the ability to return the powers to the branches they were originally delegated to forcing the legislative branch to actually legislate. You want a law? Make it. Put it out there. See if the president signs off on it. And if the president signs off on it, bounce it back to the judiciary to see if it was constitutional in the first fucking place. This is the way it fucking runs. Not we pass a law giving millions of dollars to a failing bureaucracy that pisses away the money every year, and then we're going to give them broad sweeping powers even though unelected. We are bringing back responsibility. We are bringing back accountability. We are bringing back the notion of the balance between individual liberty and individual responsibility. People are realizing that ultimately the responsibility for their own protection falls on them. The responsibility for their own well-being falls on them. Call it compassion fatigue if you want. What I call it is good, decent, hard-working people sick to death of being expected to pull the weight of dregs and losers who are too fucking weak or too fucking stupid to contribute. What you allow is what will continue. What you enable and what you endorse is what will exponentiate. Exponentiate's my college word. I got like 3 of those. And we are done allowing the inmates to run the asylum. We are done allowing insanity to run amok and being too afraid to call a lie and to be able to call madness fucking madness. Was it Orwell said? The final thing that the party demands is that you ignore the evidence of your own eyes. Our eyes are open. So I do believe in the promise of America. I do believe that going forward, we're getting back to what that promise represented initially and what it will represent. I do not for 1 second believe that our best years and our best days and our best accomplishments are behind us. I believe that we move forward with our minds sharp, with our balls dropped, with our eyes open, and with our hands up. With all of those factors in place, there's not one fucking bit of adversity they can throw our way that we will not completely overwhelm. Because in our heart of hearts, that's who the fuck we are. I am the Reverend. That is the gospel. Appreciate you being here for the Independence Day edition of the Sunday Sermon, the Bart of the Union address. In the final analysis, we're doing good, y'all. We are up against it, but they are running out of steam. We are heading into the later rounds. This is Ali Foreman in fucking Zaire, baby. We've been laid up doing the rope-a-dope, and now we're coming out charging. Swing for the fucking fences and knock that big motherfucker out. We win. Period. We fucking win. So let's get our fucking spirits up about ourselves, man, and let's start fucking clapping each other on the shoulder, start looking out for each other, and start talking and believing and acting like the motherfuckers that are going to come out on top. Nothing you will do in your life will ever be more important. Think about what you get to tell your grandkids rolling forward. This is a pivotal moment in history, and I don't give a fuck what that Mad Owl guy and that Stelter bitch have to say about it. We are on the right side of that fucking history. Because we're going to be the ones writing it. Because we win. I'm going to pass around that little digital collection plate. Dick, I will give you a call. Yes. I'm going to pass around that little digital collection plate here. I'm on Cash App. I'm on PayPal. I'm on Facebook Pay. I'm on Zelle. I'm on every goddamn thing. Venmo. You fucking name it. If you guys want to throw me a little bit of coin, like I said, it's basically a labor of love, but every little bit helps. And I'm hoping that we can make this to where it's a full-time gig one day. In the meantime, I am not your guru. I am just a crane operator with some fucking opinions, guys. I say it, I stick to it, but again, hopefully something that I said was going to be able to at least maybe change your worldview a little bit. We're going to close because I don't have my full music available. We're going to close with some Clutch, but a different track than usual. Don't have Fortunate Son on this computer because I'm away from my laptop. But anyway, we're going to close with some Clutch just the same. Go out like that. If you guys can throw me a little bit of coin, that'd be great. If you can't, I get it. It's a Biden economy. Shit's still fucked up. We haven't gotten to the midterms yet where we're going to fix this shit. But here's what you can do for me, man. You can pass along the word. You say, hey, there's fat, toothless cripple that rants and raves for a couple hours every Sunday. He's a like mind. He's a kindred spirit. Check him out, man. Maybe you'll dig it. And just post the replay to your own thing. We are on, my God, man, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, we're on Twitter. Replay is now on BitChute and Rumble. So you can check us out across all these platforms. Turn your friends onto it, man. Tell them about it. For all my sinner sisters, for all of my fucking OG Reverends Rangers, for all of my prophets of doom out there, I fucking love y'all, man. Thank you for everything you've done for the program and for everything you've done for me, myself. So that's how we move forward. But here's what you can do, not just for, and don't do this for me. Do these things for yourself, man. Think about the directives. Oh, you know what, man? Oh, God, hold it, right there. Hold it. Pull this off the wall right here. I want to show you this right here. Yeah, you see this? That is the directives right there, guys. Set in stone, burned into wood by the incredible husband of the lovely Miss Emmy. Man, you did me right, brother. You did me so right with that. This is the kind of friends that I have, man. That was amazing. And he's recovering from hip surgery right now, too, man. Hopefully that's going well, because I'm going to be right in that same fucking pipeline. So thank you again. Amazing gift. But those are the directives. And for those of you guys who couldn't read runes on the fly like that, I'm going to break it down for you guys. You got to... The signal-to-noise ratio is all fucked up in the cultural zeitgeist these days, man. You got to be that signal and not get caught up in the noise. Be the signal when they try to bury you with that noise. They'll try to demoralize you with fear and with darkness and weakness and everything to crush that fucking spirit. You have got to be that light. You got to be that light in a world full of darkness. But the most important part, and I say this and I stick to it and I mean it, nothing else is more important. This is the iron rule. The prime directive is to be that strength. To be that fucking strength in a world full of weakness. Because without the strength to sustain yourself and your loved ones and the community around you, we all got nothing. It takes strong individuals to make that strong collective. So get your ass out there, pump some iron. Find your spine, let your balls drop, lift some fucking weights, hit a heavy bag, make yourself harder to kill, because it's those strong individuals that are going to make a strong collective, man. And right now we are on the precipice, man. We are on the precipice. So it's time to step up and be that strong individual and to bond together as a strong collective. We're going to the home stretch, people, and we're going to fucking win this thing. Believe it in your heart, son. Believe it. I love y'all, man. Thank you for being here Sunday after Sunday, making me feel like a little less of a lone voice in the wilderness, man. I love you guys. I am the Reverend. That is the gospel. My sinner sisters, my Reverend's Rangers, my prophets of doom. That is it. I am out of here. Fading out on the clutch. Thanks for being here, man. We will see you guys next Sunday. I love y'all, man. Thank you so much. Peace. Wow. What a fucking Sunday, man.